And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the interview room. Tell me where you're at.
Close to violet on a Sunday, nearly made it into bloom.
Northern Belfast, Ireland.
Oh, the ordinary Monday turning back to blue.
All over the world, New York, Oceanside,
for what's to come.
Maryland, Tennessee, Chicago, Kansas, South Carolina. You're all here for this little sweet face. Australia's in the house. Cyprus. Wow. Amazing. Calgary, Adirondacks, Romania, the UK.
For what's to come. Keep forgetting how to make it known before it's already
Let's see how many Purple Hearts we can get for this sweet child.
Did the moment even make it past the room?
Rogersville, thank you for being here. Wow.
To come, keep forgetting how to make it known.
Light it up for summer.
Before it's already gone.
5 years today.
Looking back too soon is how you know. Did the moment even make it past the room?
Wow. You guys are beautiful. What a show we have planned for you today. We're so grateful that each and every one of you are here and that you've lit the chat up in purple. I'm sure she's watching. I'm sure of it. Well, yesterday we started off with this 2 parts. Today is going to be number 2. And we have some really great special guests with us here this evening. You know Miss Mary, Don's stepsister. And I reached out and I said, Mary, I said, it's love to have you, love to see you. And when I put her up here, you're going to see that she just looks fantastic. As always. Her hair looks great. Her kitchen looks great because she's an amazing cook and she's got an amazing personality. So without further ado, let me put Miss Mary in.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so wonderful to see you And, you know, I brought another guy along here tonight. I hope you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And seeing how I figured we'd kick off, you know, go back a couple of years because we were all in this thing together 5 years ago and we're still here. And for those of you that don't know that Josh from the lab, he and I did a lot of programs together early on with Mary. And I figured it would be apropos to have him here as well. So let me get Josh in here. There he is.
Hey guys,
Hey, buddy.
how are you doing? Good to see you both, and thanks for having me. It means a lot.
Yes, absolutely. And so a lot of people, Mary, are not familiar with your connection to Summer Wells. Since, you know, this case is kind of been going in different ways, right? Sometimes it's dormant, sometimes it's cooking. But why don't we start this off with you explaining to the audience who you are and what your connection is to Summer. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So I am Donnie's stepsister. I've known him since I was about 5 years old. Him and his dad and my mom got together and got married in, oh gosh, I think I was about 12 years old at the time. And so, yeah, so I'm Summer's aunt, and I started getting into, you know, when she ended up missing, and so, yeah.
And so Don, for the audience, if you're not familiar, Don is Summer's dad, biological father.
Yeah.
And so some of the childhood and family dynamics with Don, and Don's going to be our clarity of focus tonight. We're going to follow the bouncing ball on one Don Wells, just like we did yesterday for Candace. Now I'm getting a bunch of wind coming into, I don't know if there's a fan nearby or anything like that, just so we know, just no worries. But that said, so Marion, she has a sister named Jeannie, and Mary and Jeannie are biological sisters, and they grew up in a blended family after their mother married Don's father. And Don lived with them and in the state of Utah as their stepbrother. And when Jeannie was very young and when Mary was very young, they both reported being essayed. Jeannie specifically, starting at the age of 5, and it continued for many, many years. And Mary was also victimized. And they were very strong, very powerful, came out about 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, when Summer went missing. And they had reached out to law enforcement to tell them their story and that they were very concerned with the disappearance of Summer. And for Jeannie, the abuse started at the age of 5, and it lasted over 7 years. And all of those cases were reported to law enforcement. Law enforcement investigated it. They even contacted and interviewed Don. But unfortunately, the statute of limitations had expired in the state of Utah. So neither Mary nor Jeannie have ever received justice in the court of law for the abuse that they endured at the hands of Donnie and his like. She has spoken about this very bravely. I've always considered her an amazing advocate for women's rights and SA victims' rights, as well as she has empowered many, many women who are potentially dealing with that violence. And so Mary's spoken about the broader family environment to us, to both Josh and I, including generational issues and how Don's behavior fit into this. And so once Summer went missing, they had reached out to law enforcement there in Hawkins County to report their incidents and basically tell them that they needed to take a hard look at their stepbrother. Did I miss something, Mary?
No, I'm just agreeing with you. So, yeah.
Okay. Keep me on the straight and narrow as you always do.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But the interesting thing about that, they gave some tremendous insight in Don's personality and Don's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, Mary's been able to provide a perspective on Don's history, his patterns of denial and minimalization, how he frames incidents, and his family interactions and how he hid his behavior, not only from his parents, but from other people around him in the circle of his influence, and his family interactions. And she's also been an advocate, noting how his public statements don't quite align with his and hers lived experiences. And so those family observations immediately post Summer's disappearance, she was able to give some insight into the clarity of how the communication dynamics take place between her and Don and Candace and Don. And Mary has done many recordings of phone calls with Don. And we've heard some of those recordings here. I've not played all of them, but she's made a lot. And it was interesting that I made a phone call to Don Wells after Summer had gone missing, questioning him about his interactions with his stepsisters. And he admitted, and these were also turned over to the investigators, who they interviewed him in jail, didn't they, Mary? Didn't they go to the jail and interview him?
They did. Well, since it was here in Utah, the investigator who was on the case, he had to, instead of like fly into Tennessee, he just did it over the phone. But he said it was so hard to talk to him. He said he couldn't get a word in edgewise with Donnie. But yeah.
That conversation from the jail, Mary and I, we FOIA'd the interrogation or interview or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we put it on the channel because I thought it was really important. And the defiance and the just the personality of Don Wells really shines through on that. He is no stranger, Chris, to being questioned by the police at all.
And so, Josh, you have that up on your channel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's when he really started to blow his gasket on me, was because, he was admitting all these, he was sort of admitting to things, but then minimizing them, blaming others for, the SA, blaming the victims, which really just really annoyed me to the core. and where he would have kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, no responsibility taken sometimes, and then sometimes say I was just a kid, but then it was a 5-year-old's fault or something like that. So I just said, you know what, let's just go ahead and listen to this conversation since it's public information and you're the focus of a criminal investigation. And some people were mad at me for it, and but I didn't care.
Yeah. So the abuse for Jeannie started when she was 5. He was 12.
Mm-hmm.
Or was he 9 years difference or 7 years?
7.
Okay, so he was 14 when it started, and it lasted 7 years. So actually, he was 19 when it ended, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so she was 5, and so we got to back 7. So he was 12 when it started.
Yeah.
And it ended when he was 19. And he also essayed another girl that we had on this program. It was a friend of Jeannie's who stayed over, who slept over one night. And this whole story all lines up. The investigators went through it, and the district attorney reviewed it, and her conclusion was it happened, but I can't prosecute it because at the time that it happened, the statute of limitations was different. And since that time, though, they have changed the laws in Utah, and now people can go back from these incidences. And that was kind of the trigger for Mary and Jeannie when they heard that Summer had disappeared in Tennessee. They live across west in Utah, and of course Summer disappears in Tennessee, and they had not communicated in many, many years. And so now here we are 5 years later. So is that an accurate assessment of bringing everybody pretty much up to speed as to why we're here today?
Chris, can I just add something really quick?
Yeah.
It's very important to note that in the months before Summer went missing, Don was living in Utah, and he had brought his oldest son out there, and Mary was having interactions with them daily. But he was living in a trailer, correct, Mary?
When he was here in Utah?
Yes. And that was just some months before Summer went missing.
Yeah, it was about 6 months before Summer went missing.
Yeah. So he had left his family and took the oldest son, who's now in state's custody and has been and is never as a minor will never be returned to Don or Candace, even though they postured for a long time that they were going to get them back. There was never any chance of that actually ever happening. And we now know that. But that Mary had quite a lot of interaction with Don in the months before Summer went missing, because there was chaos and discourse in the house. And Don has a history of taking off like that. And so that, I think Mary kind of saw some, odd behavior and things like that leading up to it. And so I think that's important to note too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great perspective. So, tonight we want to, just take the approach that aligning with Mary's accounts of her own personal experience and her direct testimony as a survivor of a family member, and how that context and pattern relates to proving or disproving specifics and the patterns related to Summer's life. Now, there was a really interesting 911 call where Candace had called about Don abusing Summer. and he was drunk and that he was going off. And I'm not going to play it because it's too triggering.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And in that call, you can hear in the background, it sounds like the voice of a little girl saying, "Mommy, mommy, he's hurting me."
Mm-hmm.
And that in of itself started to lay some foundation in my mind anyway.
Yeah.
We needed to take a harder look at this guy.
Yeah.
Whatever that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And what we discovered was a very disturbing pattern of criminal history. And that criminal history dated back into the 1990s and up through the 2000s in not only Utah and Arkansas, but there were multiple charges in Utah between 1990 and 2001 of attempted aggravated assaults, interfering with public servants, forgeries, burglaries, burglaries of dwellings, many theft cases, narcotics cases. Is that your husband? Tell him I said hi.
Chris said hi.
He's like, "Hey, man."
If you were to write up Don Wells's rap sheet, you'd have to have it on a CVS receipt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll bet his rap sheet is a mile long.
I've seen it. It's a PDF of like 60 pages.
Wow. Wow.
It's insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Mary.
I was going to ask you, Chris, now, so I was talking to a cousin of mine earlier, and is there any way that we could check and see if Candace or Donnie is on the sex offender list?
Little Donnie?
No, Big Donnie.
As in the Donnie we're talking about tonight?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can do that in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Now, the reason why I'm asking is because a piece of paper had showed up. Now, I don't know if it was real or what it was, but I got it through Prayer Garden. She had sent it to me. And it was a paper with Candace's name on it. And apparently she had been accused through DCS or, you know what I mean? Yeah, is that?
I was telling you about it. I believe it's authentic, but from what I've heard, there were never any charges filed because the boys were taken from them, and that was sort of the deal, I guess, was that if they signed over their rights to the state, that basically they would wash their hands of it. But from what I've heard, that there is and I've seen it, but I haven't it's not a really clear, it's like somebody took a snapshot of it.
Right.
And
right.
So you can't really make out exactly what it says, but I've also heard Candace has admitted to her friends as well, that close friends, that there was accusations of SA in the house as well.
Okay, so now if that paper is legit, would they have been put on a sex offender list?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, they would have to be prosecuted for it. And
okay.
There's another part of the story, and sorry, Chris, but there's another part of the story that none of it makes any sense to me. I heard Sheriff Lawson come out and say, we never got to today. He just said we never got to talk to them extensively. Well, what the hell was he doing? What do you mean you never got to talk to them extensively? I mean, I really don't understand how this was handled. I get it. If you don't have the evidence to lock them up or whatever, but there were other crimes committed And the only thing that they ever hit him with was the drunk driving. Everything else they let him slide on. Everything. Every other accusation was never looked into. And
Right.
for some reason, I cannot understand how this was, and then he comes on today and says, well, they could have watched her better. I've always thought that they knew something. Well, where was all this, before?
Yeah.
When all these sympathizers leave the parents alone, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And you're going, now that you're not sheriff, now you're saying this. I mean, it's asinine to me. It really is. And it really is kind of made me irritable.
Well, before I go out on a limb here, I want to make sure that I confirm any of this. Okay, so let's just hold off on that part of it, because I'm not seeing it on the list right now.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean there couldn't be an upload situation here going on as well. But that said, right now I'm not seeing it. Okay, so go ahead, John.
It's an accusation.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
that's it.
But we definitely know his son is on the list in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Still?
Yes.
Yep.
And we know that Candace's grandmother's or Candace's mom's brother was the number 1 or number 2 most violent SA offender in the state of Wisconsin.
Big state.
And that they didn't want to let him out of jail. But the parole system allowed him to come out into the public. And it just seems like there was a whole other subset of individuals that surrounded the family.
Yeah.
And how old is Donnie's biological son outside of Summer?
He was born in 86, I believe, because he's only a couple of months younger than my son. And my son was born in June of 86. So
yeah, so
how old would that be? 40?
He's like 38, 39.
39. Yeah. I don't even know. Here I am. I don't even know how old my son is. But yeah, so
one you lose count.
Yeah, don't worry. So here's what I want to do. I want to play this video that I put together. And there are a couple of things in it. We're going to do a stop and start. And in it, I'm going to point out some things that we're going to follow the bouncing ball. The reason I set this up yesterday for listening to Candace again, Candace also has an extensive criminal history to the point where she beat one of her own children, and the state took that child away. And she is alive today, but has never, ever had any contact with her.
That was the boy. The boy was the one that was beaten, and he ended up with a traumatic brain injury and ended up in state's care. The girl, I don't believe, I don't know what happened to the girl, but she was taken as well at the same time. Now, Candace says that it was her husband at the time that did it, but there's no clarification. They were both in trouble for the abuse.
Yeah, and that's an interesting correlation, because if in fact that 911 call is going on where she is saying that Dawn is beating her daughter in the background, then that's going to be Summer. And if this was the case where he's beating this little girl in the background, the other husband back in the day, then it would be a consistent pattern of behavior. And so now, why is this important this evening? because as we listen to the compiled video that I've put together here this evening, I want you to pay very close attention because you've already seen the environment now. And so environment, situation, circumstance is always important to understand. And so yesterday you've seen the environment. So now we're going to see the circumstance and the situation that Summer was subject to. And we're going to hear it right from Candace. We're going to hear it from Grandis. And we're going to hear it from Don. And I'm curious what your opinions are going to be, because there's a lot of opinions out there. And like Josh just said, you know, the sheriff said, I wish we could have had more time with them, which was always my concern.
Yeah.
That they didn't get an opportunity to pin them down.
Chris, you constantly were saying I would haul them in as many times as I could. And you said that from pretty much the beginning. You said, look, every chance I'd get, I'd have their asses down there, you know, and in the interview room and talking to them. And come to find out now, that didn't happen. I mean, it makes no sense.
So, Mary, but bring us up to speed before we go there. Your dad passed away, right?
Yes, he did.
And how did Don take that? And what are the family dynamics while that was all going on?
Well, now, Donnie, now this is just what I heard. The day that my dad died, the night he died, Donnie came down here, I guess, thinking that he was going to get the house, move in, take over, because his dad had died. And I don't know why, but for some reason he thought that. And so, but from what I heard, he went to his sister's house and his sister had stopped him and told him, no, you can't go over there. You know, it's not your house. So I heard that he had went back home, and but when all this was taking place, I myself actually stayed away from the house because Sonia was over there, and we don't get along.
Now tell everybody who Sonia is.
Now, Sonia is Donnie's biological sister. And so ever since this started with Donnie, I mean, I can see that she's been on his side, you know. But I don't know. We just got into a great big tiff about it because of all Donnie's lies and everything he was putting out there. And so it's been a big mess, you know, ever since it started. So
now, does your mom still live in the house?
Yeah. Yep. And actually my older sister and her husband moved in with my mom, and they're the ones who are taking care of her now. So
okay.
Yeah.
So, and Donnie is back in Tennessee.
As far as I know, yep.
And that property belonged to his mother.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's why they live up at 110 Ben Hill Road.
Right. Now, from what I gather, apparently, because his mom left that property to a friend of hers, and is what I found out was there was a quick claim deed that came up for $10 that she sold that house and property to Donnie for $10, and just she went, I guess she lives down actually in southern Utah somewhere right now, but I could see her just handing him over the property and the house because Donnie, I know Donnie went to her and just kept hounding her and hounding her and hounding her, you know? and probably even threatening her and everything else. And she probably just done the quit claim deed and said, here, take it. I don't want it. So because before his mom died, she didn't even want him around.
Shocker.
Okay. So I think we have a clear understanding of the dynamics. Even today, he's still trying to, be scandalous to the family, even to this day.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form, Mary, when you talk to him, and as you have talked to him about Summer, what's his position about searching for Summer?
It's like he has no interest at all.
Why do you think that is?
Because, it was just like with you, I mean, I think you were getting too close. You know what I mean? To finding things out and stuff like that. And that's why he turned on you, Chris. And, but yeah, he has no interest in even finding her or anything. The very first phone call, and I never did get it recorded. I wish I would have. But the very first phone call I had with him after she went missing, he had told me that they had gotten like over 4,000 flyers, and they just threw them away. He said, yeah, we just trashed them. I said, why would you do that? And he said, because there's no sense in putting them up. No sense in trying to look for her. It's like
they were in the back of the Subaru, the red Subaru, and Candace had backed up to a dumpster and threw away 4,000 flyers.
Yeah. So, his position in trying to find her, he has no, and I think the reason why he don't want to find her or don't want to get on that road is because, I mean, if they find her, he's gonna be in trouble.
And also, Chris, within the last 6 to 8 months, he's been seen tearing stuff down, flyers as well on that road still. There are people that have documented it. I mean, he wants nothing to do with this anymore at all. The only reason he ever talked about it was from public pressure.
Yeah.
And humiliation and anger.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he'll realize we're not going anywhere.
Right? Yeah.
And at some point, hey, I'm still here. Love to talk to you again, Donnie.
Yep.
Anytime. I got your phone number.
Miss you, buddy.
Yeah.
You're welcome to call us. Okay, so let's I'm going to point out a very huge Grand Canyon tonight. It's the first time folks are going to hear this. I'm glad you're here, Mary. Now, one of the things that in behavior analysis that you always want to do is what they call lapping. And you overlap fresh statements with past statements. Remember, I've preached 1,000 times on this channel that you always try to stay in the beginning as long as you can until the evidence takes you into a different direction. And once that evidence takes you into a different direction, well, then, of course, you follow that evidence. But the most important piece of evidence you can ever get is right out of the mouth of the suspect themselves or witnesses themselves. It's not necessarily, somebody that is involved, but it's somebody that was around. And in this particular abduction / missing child, and it's not an abduction when I say that, meaning it's not a stranger abduction, in my opinion. In this particular type of case where a 5-year-old vanishes from the basement of her home, then what Donnie hasn't realized and what Candace hasn't realized and what the grandmother hasn't realized is when I make a commitment, I don't let go. And unfortunately for them, I'm going to reveal some other Grand Canyon tonight. And I want you to be the judge of that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start right here with the latest and greatest.
This was day one back in June of 2021. 5-year-old Summer Wells was missing and the clock was ticking.
We have a total of 41 agencies involved in being represented in the search for Summer Wells.
Summer's father, Don Wells, said at the time that his daughter was out planting flowers with her mom and grandmother, but then went inside to play with her toys.
So she went down there and she was gone. So she went out the basement door, which was unlocked. I mean,
Okay, so remember yesterday I talked about the necessity of Candace having to leave the door open. You guys remember that in yesterday's video?
Yeah.
Okay. And now the reason for that is because Dawn has created a narrative that talks about that door being open. But you heard Candace yesterday say, I'm not really sure if I left it locked or open. Okay. So that's called an overlap. One person says one thing, another person says another. And so you take notes on those types of comments and you just categorize it in your head until you start hearing more. Okay. Well, the whole narrative that started to create itself, I've noticed from in the last 5 years, has completely come from Don Wells. Candace has taken a back seat. Even today, Candace has taken a back seat. Now, why is that important? Because Candace has to worry about her mother overlapping. And I'm going to show you tonight where those stories in no way, shape, or form line up at all. And this is, in my opinion, why she hit the road, Jack, and why she took off to Wisconsin as quickly as she did. So let's listen.
we're looking at everything, crossing every T, dotting every I, and turning every stone.
Sheriff Ronnie Lawson remembers that day well. He had to rush from home to the scene on his wedding anniversary.
We had a lot of people show up in a short period of time. We were hoping we would find her before dark.
You did.
By the way, this is the 5-year interview that Josh was just talking about.
We did.
It wasn't long after that the trail went cold, but the sheriff says the case never did.
It happened under my watch, and it was very important that we find her. And people says it was a cold case or that we really didn't care. We exhausted every avenue we could, every resource, trying to find her, and we're still looking. It was a lot of pressure and still is.
It's a pressure that's been complicated by the glare of the media spotlight, the online conspiracy theories, and the challenging relationship with the Wells family.
We never really got to talk to them to any length.
Okay, now that's like Josh said, that's an extremely important question or comment. We never really got to talk to them at any length. Mary, what do you think about that?
Now, is he referring to like interviewing them or?
Correct.
So, I mean, did they even ever pull them in for an interview?
That
Yeah,
begs the
they
question.
said they did, and gave them lie detector tests, or polygraphs, but and people will say, well, they lawyered up, but they did not originally lawyer up. They did not have. They did, according to Hawkins County, unless they're lying, which I guess they could be. I don't know why they would lie about this, but what they said was that the lines of communication were open and that the family was, quote unquote, cooperating. Now that changed at some point in the first like 14 to 21 days. But you think that you would have them in there grilling them those first 2 weeks, couple of days. I don't understand that statement. I mean, it makes no sense to me. None. Now, if they lawyered up, fine. Okay, I get that. But, once again, who lawyers up the same day their child goes missing or even a week after their child goes missing?
Right.
Well, and who throws 5,000 flyers in the trash?
Yeah, people that don't care
for their missing child. And Mary, what motivated you guys to call the sheriff's department, and what was their response when you called TBI and the sheriff?
Well, me and Jeannie had been talking, for a few days after she had went missing, and we just started, comparing notes as to back when Donnie was doing the stuff that he was doing to me and my sister. And a lot of it, because Jeannie stayed quiet, I guess she didn't want anybody to know. I think Donnie was threatening her. She was just a little girl. So we just started talking and found out, between both of us, what he had done. And Jeannie knew what he had done to me too, but we all kind of just let it swept it under the rug, and so it's
you never got a phone call back, did you?
No, we didn't. No, Jeannie had called first, and then I called like 2 or 3 days later, I believe, and told them what had happened to me. And I believe Trish, Jeannie's daughter, had also called them. But they were kind of acting like with me, they didn't care. You know what I mean? So that kind of bothered me. They just took my information down and they're like, okay, well, whatever, we'll check into it or whatever. But then I never got any calls back.
But I get involved, and Donnie confesses to me that he molested both you and Jeannie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't rocket science. And to the folks that think this is a conspiracy, then you tell that to the law enforcement agencies that investigated the information we gave them. And guess what? Yeah. They were ready to put him in prison. So this is no conspiracy. This is firsthand information.
And by the way, it's more than 3. It's 3 that were went on the record, and there were we spoke to several others who did not want to go on the record that accused him of awful things as well.
Exactly.
With very, very credible stories.
The reason Donnie gets away with this crap is because he has a school of idiots and trolls that follow him and that love it. And it's amazing because we're talking about the molestation of children. And these people want to defend him. I mean, that's up to you to do that. I could care less.
Right.
But maybe I'll hunt you down one day.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So let's listen to the other piece of this.
So I really don't know. Sometimes I feel like they knew something but I don't know for sure. I feel like her family could have watched her better, paid more attention to her. If she was as active as that, her that small, should have paid more attention to her. Even her brothers.
We asked Don Wells directly.
There he is.
Chris, why does he says that from having some sort of knowledge of something. He doesn't just say, I think they could have watched her better out of just, happenstance like that. Well, I think they probably could have watched her better. He knows something. He knew something. That's neglect. You have children, you have to watch them. Mm-hmm. I mean, if your child is known to do this, I mean, it was a constant thing with them. Constant.
Yeah.
Directly about those allegations of his family's involvement when we spoke with him back in 2024.
So you can say you had nothing to do with your daughter?
Yeah, I absolutely can.
2 years later, not much in the case has changed, but tips are still.
Mary, how would he deny the molestations when you hear that denial of anything that ever happened to you? He actually attacked you for it, didn't he?
Oh yeah. He actually tried blaming it on me, and the same with Jeannie too. He actually tried blaming it. It was all her fault, And it's like, well, how can you say that? She was only 5 years old, So.
Yeah, classic behavior.
Coming in, the sheriff
about that too, and it like you said, it's just classic behavior where he does this with everything. He always, I'm the victim. That's what he said to me. He said, I'm the victim.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's keep going.
Sheriff says 19 in just the last month, and both local and state investigators are still pleading for anyone with information to come forward.
We never imagined her case would remain unsolved 5 years later. We have made progress over the last year, but there are still many unanswered questions.
Well, I just know that I'm retiring, but I don't want them to stop looking for Summer. I want somebody to find her, even if it's not me.
Do you feel like you'll ever see your daughter again?
Eventually. I don't know about in this life, but eventually, yeah.
Okay, so that was again, do you think you'll ever see your daughter again? And he goes, eventually, but then he qualifies it with, maybe not in this life. That's kind of equivalent to one of the very first press conferences he gives.
2001.
When he says, I'll see her in the resurrection. So he hasn't lost that principle from the day she disappeared. Now,
yeah.
Go ahead.
If you remember right, that in that first interview, didn't he say that? I'll see her in the resurrection? In the very first interview.
Yeah. Yeah, why would you say that about your child?
Right. Yeah, and I asked him about that.
What did he say?
He said he didn't know what to say. He said he was scared. I didn't know what to say. I told him, I'm like, Donnie, that right there, that statement right there told me she was already dead.
Did he deny it?
Nope. See, and that's another thing. He never, with anything, he never, even with Summer, he never, like if you said, well, did you get rid of her? Or did you, essay her or anything like that? And he wouldn't deny it. He would just like go on to something different. You know what I mean?
He also had premonitions that something bad was always going to happen to Summer. He would always qualify it. I always knew deep in my heart that something bad was going to happen to her. And I just didn't know what it was. And then when you would ask him, what he meant by that, he would always say, well, you know, because of my wife and, you know, some of the people that she would hang around, you know, and I'd always say, you got to watch her, and stuff like that, you know, but he always said that he knew something was going to happen to her.
Yeah. And, you know, so let's shift our focus just for a second to Grandma, who immediately thereafter disappeared to Wisconsin. Have you had any information or contact with the grandmother in any way, shape, or form, Mary?
Not me. No, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't either, but I do know people that know her closely and do talk to her weekly, and she wants nothing to do with Dawn. She's out of state. She does not talk to him at all.
Okay. So the reason, again, I played the interview yesterday with Candace is to kind of lay a foundation for what the narrative is. And one thing I want you to listen to very carefully tonight, which has jumped out at me, considerably. And I've kind of, you know me, I always have this little holdback of things, but I think it's time now, over 5 years, that even we talk about this piece of the puzzle. So I've always known that Grandis has been a storyteller from day one. And that's why I'm going to put this video up tonight. I caught something a long time ago about her story, and I had compared it against Candace's statement. And what I mean by that is in Candace's statement, remember, Summer jumps up and it's within, probably 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. She's in the trailer fixing Grandma's knee brace, and then she's walking over to the door. Okay. And Grandis is just regurgitating essentially the same story. And we've always felt that this was a scripted conversation. And whenever there's scripted conversations, that means there's usually gaps, and sometimes, there's small, cracks in the concrete, and sometimes it's the Grand Canyon. Well, tonight I'm going to point out a Grand Canyon. And if you listen carefully, Grandma says that when they get home, she goes through and kind of gives the story. But this is after her getting her medication. Candace is with her. Summer's with her. But what does Grandma do? Guess what, everybody? Grandma goes to bed. And she takes a nap. After the nap, she comes outside. And that's when the flower conversation is incorporated into the lies. Pay very careful attention.
Morning, she came out and took me into the ER because my leg was messing up on me. And we were afraid something was wrong with my knee. I have a knee replacement. And she was worried that there was something wrong with it. And she took me into the hospital. And I ended up getting a shot for it to get rid of the pain. And they prescribed me medication to take to get the swelling down out of my knee and around my knee because it was inflamed. And then we waited around for my prescription. Summer went swimming that day at the horse stables, I believe it was. And then we come back in.
Now, do you notice she says at the horse place, I believe it was? Well, she was supposed to be there.
Right.
So that doesn't make sense. That we'll just call that the north rim of the Grand Canyon.
And I went in my camper, and after we brought my groceries in for me, and the boys helped with that, and of course Summer, and I laid down and went to sleep, and
I laid down and went to sleep.
I got up and I was sitting in my doorway.
I got up and was sitting in my doorway. That's the south rim of the Grand Canyon. She doesn't remember going to the lake. And when Candace was walking me to the lake, down to the shoreline, I asked her, where was Grandma? And you remember what she said? They were looking at flowers. They were doing all kinds of stuff. Well, according to Grandma, she doesn't remember any of that because she put all of that information on Candace. She didn't put herself in first person. She didn't put herself in first person at the lake.
And we come out, and
I'm going to back up.
the boys helped with that, and around my knee, because it was inflamed. And then we
And those are the dogs that are never up on the property that you hear in the background.
waited around for my prescription. Summer went swimming that day at the horse stables, I believe it was.
Summer went swimming that day at the horse stable, I believe it was. Well, weren't you there?
Well, according to Hunter, who was the young man that was with them that day, yes. And according to Candace, yes.
Correct. But according to her, she doesn't remember.
No, she doesn't.
And when she gets home, she goes in because she's got the pain medication. They gave her a shot. But Candace's story is she went in to fix her mom's brace and then had sent Summer into the house. But according to Grandma, while in the trailer, she went to sleep. She took a nap.
And then we come back, and I went in my camper, and after we brought my groceries in for me, and the boys helped with that, and of course Summer, and I laid down and went to sleep, and I got up and I was sitting in my doorway.
I laid down and went to sleep. I got up and I was sitting in my doorway. And now she's going to bring in the conversation about the flowers. Okay. Okay, everybody in the chat, do you guys hear that? Is there anybody wants to defend this story? Because you're hearing it out of the grandmother's mouth yourself, not from me. Okay. So this is the part now where she fills in the gap on the flower concept. Remember, Candace made it sound like Grandma was in a big hurry to get the flowers moving. That, remember, she had to pull 3 different flower pots and put them in the, the around the rocks, which is concrete, by the way, almost. And that somehow all those rocks got put into the other pot. That's okay, Mary. You're getting a little feedback, so I just muted you, so don't worry. And when you want to say something, just put your finger up and I'll unmute you, so that way, because you're just getting a little feedback on. No worries. So, all of this conversation about, it was almost immediate. We needed to get the flowers. Grandma was going 100 miles an hour, yada, yada. And Josh, I'm getting feedback from your side too. I don't know what it is. I just muted you. Anyhow, all of that stuff, okay, in my opinion, is bogus. And any responsible investigator would have called these people out on every single one of these lies on behalf of Summer Wells, on behalf of Summer.
And we come out, and Candace asked me what I was doing. I said, well, we got to transplant these little cactuses into bigger pots. And we did.
See, she came out after her nap. And that's when the conversation shifted to the little cactuses and the planting flowers. So here's what they didn't ask, or what we don't know. And hopefully they did ask it. How long did she sleep? Because I would have asked her, okay, wait a minute, stop right there. You just said you were taking a nap. How long were you asleep? Because now that extends the time frame from Summer jumping out of the car to Summer going into the house. And now we get into this, this conversation about why is this not lining up? Why is it not lining up? It gets better. Whoops. I just hit the wrong button.
Keep an eye on her, and that's the last time I seen her.
Progress over the last year, but there are still many unanswered questions.
Well, I just know that I'm retiring, but I don't want them to stop looking for Summer. I want somebody to find her, even if it's not me.
Do you feel like you'll ever see your daughter again?
Eventually. I don't know about in this life, but eventually, yeah.
I got up that morning, she come out and took me into the ER because my leg was messing up on me. And we were afraid something was wrong with my knee. I have a knee replacement. And she was worried that there was something wrong with it. And she took me into the hospital. And I ended up getting a shot for it to get rid of the pain. And they prescribed me medication to take to get the swelling down out of my knee and around my knee because it was inflamed. And then we waited around for my prescription. Summer went swimming that day at the horse stables, I believe it was. And then we come back, and I went in my camper, and after we brought my groceries in for me, and the boys helped with that, and of course Summer. And I laid down and went to sleep, and I got up and I was sitting in my doorway, and we come out, and Candace asked me what I was doing. I said, well, we got...
Now, the interesting thing about that is she goes, we came out after her nap. Who's we? Who's the we in this conversation?
Transplant these little cactuses into bigger pots. And we did that, and then Summer come in and had a piece of peppermint, which is her favorite, and then she went in. She said, Mama, I want to go play with the boys. Candy walked her back to the house, and she asked the boys to keep an eye on her. And
now, you see, this is interesting because now she's talking on behalf of Candace. She's not talking first person of her observation. She's saying she wanted to go in. Oh, Candace walked her back to the house. So she was talking first person about Summer wanting to go in, and then she immediately filled in the gap that Candace had actually walked her into the house, and now the story is keep an eye on her with the boys. And you'll notice how hard she's struggling to remember what the narrative is.
That's the last time I seen her.
And that's the last time she saw her. So grandma's story is after she wakes up from a nap, they have 3 little cactuses, and then Summer decides to go into the house, and somehow she knows that Candace walked her to the house, and she saw her, or at least believes that she went into the house, and that's the last time she's ever seen her. And that's it. Film at 11, as they used to say. That is the grandmother of 5-year-old Summer Wells, missing 5 years now. That's what Summer was up against. A grandmother who doesn't even know what her daughter said about the events.
Tell me, when you first realized that Summer was missing, what was going through your mind, and what was it like here?
To be blunt, it was hell. I mean, and I apologize, I'm blunt.
Now, we should tell the audience, her brother is the second most dangerous RSO in the state of Wisconsin. He was so dangerous that the state of Wisconsin did not want to release him into the public again. And so this is the sister of that guy talking about the disappearance of her granddaughter. And she also has a daughter who disappeared in Wisconsin, and they've never found her. So do the math on this woman having 2 family members disappear in the same family without a trace. I think that's pretty disturbing in of itself.
Everybody knows I have a missing daughter. She's been gone for 12 years. And
So grandma has a missing daughter as well. For 12.
Those are lottery odds.
Yeah. What are the odds?
I mean, it's very, very low.
Mary, have you met her?
No, I've never met her, but one time when I was talking to Donnie, I was asking him about Candace's sister. And the only thing I asked him was, did you know her? And he goes, we had nothing to do with her disappearance. We weren't even in that state at the time she disappeared. And I was like, Donnie, I didn't ask you if you had anything to do with her disappearance. I asked you if you knew her. He goes, no, I didn't know her. I didn't know her that good. I was like, okay.
I also asked him if he knew her, and he said he didn't. He also said that he wasn't around when she went missing. And then he also said, but I know that she was a really nice, trusting person.
Yeah.
Right.
all I could say is, oh God, not again. And I couldn't do nothing but cry. And we yelled for her, and we yelled for her, and yelled for her.
So that's the extent of their searching. They yelled for her, and they yelled for her, and they yelled for her. But Candace has this extensive, elaborate story of how, you know, Summer jumps out of the truck. I'd open both doors. You know, we're getting groceries. Candace has groceries going into her house, and she has the boys getting groceries and putting them into her trailer. At the conclusion of that, she decides to take a nap. And so the question is, the Grand Canyon is, both the North and the South Rim, how much time, how long did you sleep that Candace has never told us about? And if so, what could have happened to Summer in that time frame? I just wonder. Mary, has he ever mentioned any of this?
About what now?
Has Donnie ever mentioned that Grandis had gone in and taken a nap?
No, not Donnie never ever said anything to me about that.
So that's more than 2 minutes. What I would submit. Anybody disagree?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could have, I mean, if she had taken a nap first, I mean, how long was she sleeping?
You know, between Mary and I and you, Chris, I don't think that there were three people that spoke to Don more while this was going on. And he was always calling me, trying to convince me of stuff. And most of the conversations were contentious and went on for sometimes over an hour. And, you know, while he would be upset, I would ask him all these questions, and sometimes he'd answer them very pissed off. Sometimes he wouldn't. And I asked him to go over it with me a bunch of times. Sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't. Never once did he ever mention a nap, ever.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately had the displeasure of talking to him ad nauseum many times, and never once heard it.
Okay, it gets better.
And we could not find her. Candy was in hysterics. And we never did find her. She called 911 and she called Donnie, and we sent the boys down over the hill, and I stood in front of over by the edge there and watched them.
Now, mind you, this is all after the nap. All of this takes place after she wakes up, comes out. For Candace, it's 2 to 10 minutes at the most. For her, it's an unknown. We don't know how long she slept.
Right.
But all of these gaps put Summer at risk.
And by the way, they said right away, this is the constant with them, was that they said that they knew that Summer was taken by somebody right away. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you're going to send a 7-year-old, a 8 or 9-year-old, and a 11 or 12-year-old out on that property when you think that a child has just been abducted. You're going to send them out there by themselves. That makes sense to them. Okay. Good story.
And was praying to God every minute that nobody would take them. And there was no sign of her.
Do you believe that someone took Summer, or do you believe that she wandered off? What do you believe happened?
I believe somebody took her. I know people say it doesn't happen, but it does happen. It happens in small towns. It happens in big towns. It happens in the country. And I believe somebody.
Search for Summer Wells continues 5 years after her disappearance from Hawkins County. According to the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, Summer was last seen on June 15th of 2021 walking away from her home on Ben Hill Road in the Beach Creek community. And despite a still active Amber Alert, there's been no sign of her since. In the days after her disappearance, crews searched more than 3,000 acres using helicopters.
Now, this is how disgusting the mainstream media can be. Summer gets a 1 minute and 30-second hit. And in that hit, they have said Summer walked away. The media has decided that Summer Wells walked away. And right there, all they're doing is selling advertising. And people complain about YouTubers.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Welcome to the 21st century.
Well, it's not even in alignment with what the parents say.
Exactly.
And not that I believe their story either, but I certainly don't believe that she walked away. And I think that whole walk away story, Chris, is nothing more than plausible deniability, separating themselves. They have to say that somebody came in there and took her from the home, because otherwise they have responsibility. Otherwise, they're legally on the hook for some sort of culpability. But instead, Donnie, who by all accounts isn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, but he's not dumb and he knows the law. He's been hit with at least 2 felonies, if not more. I don't know how many misdemeanors. He knows that if they say that she got taken, they're not responsible and they can't be hooked up for anything unless they get direct evidence otherwise. And I fully believe, and this is just my belief, that Donnie orchestrated the story and had everybody stick to it, including Grandma. Now there were some sort of variations, but for the most, and you're pointing out one right here with the sleeping. But other than that, they try to have a cookie cutter representation of what happened that day. And what are the chances? Because you've interviewed thousands of people. When people are being honest about a situation, very rarely in a chaotic situation do they all have the exact same account, minus a couple things here and there that they maybe didn't mean to see or they didn't mean to say here or whatever. So they had this concocted story. And I've heard from several people that I do believe, but I cannot prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt. I cannot prove this, that Grandis has admitted that Dawn's the one that came up with this story. I can't prove that, but I believe the people, and I believe the people that have told me that, and it's more than one person, and it's people that are close and that I trust. Dawn's the one that came up with the story.
Won't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
You've known him all your life, just about, Mary.
Yeah.
What do you think happened?
Well, I don't know. My very first instinct when I first heard that she went missing was Donnie. Donnie did it. Now, in that very last conversation I had with Donnie, I kept asking him, where were you when she went missing? You were home, because I kept, hearing a lot that he was at home, through different channels and stuff like that. And he admitted to me, he goes, yeah, I was home. Fine. Is that what you want me to say? And I told him, well, okay, so you were home. In my opinion, I think this is what happened. I think Donnie went and parked the car down by the shed, walked up to the house, went into the basement. I think he was high. I think he put on his videos. I think he wanted Summer there. And I think that's when he made the call to Candace when they were waiting for the prescriptions. And he was asking Candace, where the hell are you? Where's Summer? I want her home. I want you home. And I think that they got home. She went into the basement or went into the house. Donnie got her. Something happened. He took her out of that basement, ran down to the car.
When you say he got her, what do you mean by that? Break that down.
Like, I think he SA'd her. I think something happened. I think maybe he might have hurt her, might have killed her, you know, and I think he took her. I think he ran out of the house. I think he went down to the car, put her in the car, took off, and went and disposed of her. That's what I think happened.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, there's so many scenarios, Chris. I
know, but you've known him, you talked to him, just what you just said a minute ago. He even told you he was home.
Yeah. Yep.
And so let's keep moving here.
Planes, drones, and scent tracking dogs. And since that time, state and federal law enforcement agencies have gotten involved in the search for Summer. And this morning, we have a new statement from the director of the TBI, David Roush, on the progress of the investigation. Roush says, quote, "From the very beginning, our focus has been on Summer and finding out what happened to her. We never imagined her case would remain unsolved after 5 years. We have made progress over the last year, but there are still many unanswered questions. We continue to urge anyone with firsthand information regarding Summer's disappearance to come forward. Even the smallest detail could make all the difference in this case," end quote. If you have any credible tips in the Summer Wells case, you can contact law enforcement by calling 1-800-TBI-FIND.
Efforts reached the 1-week mark for missing Hawkins County 5-year-old Summer Wells. Newly obtained court documents show the child's father has had a troubled past. Thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Sarah Diamond.
And I'm Josh Smith. Good evening. Family members reported Summer missing around 6:30 p.m. 1 week ago tonight, June 15th. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued an endangered child alert a few hours later, and then the next day upgraded it to the most serious statewide Amber Alert.
TBI says in the last week they've received more than 220 tips, worked with more than 80 agencies from 6 states, and covered 3,000 acres, much of which has been rugged mountainous terrain. News Channel 11's Ansley Daniel joins us now live from TBI's media post in Sullivan County.
Ansley, you got these court documents related to Summer's father, Donald Wells. What did they show you?
Josh and Sarah, Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson has told us that Summer's father, Donald Wells, does have a criminal past. Today, in some court documents obtained by News Channel 11, we learned that Summer's mother, Candace Bly, actually filed an order of protection against him. On October 14th of 2020, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office was dispatched to the Wells home on Ben Hill Road for a domestic assault situation. Bly told officers that Donald Wells came home drunk and saw someone else in the house and believed that Bly was cheating on him.
Now, that's important to understand, especially what happened to you, Mary.
Right.
Remember the prank phone call?
Yes.
Where Candace called you in distress, remember?
Yes.
Claiming Don had been arrested by the FBI, that he'd been beaten up in the yard, and then he was tortured by the Mexican mafia, and that somehow he'd been facing death threats and death in of itself. And she was crying. Everybody remember that episode?
Yeah.
When he did all that to Mary? Okay. And you described it back then as extremely upsetting and manipulative because later it was revealed to be a hoax. Perplexed by, perpetrated by both Don and Candace. It was pretty elaborate. And Josh, didn't you do a show on that as well?
Absolutely. I remember it like it was yesterday. And it was one of those, because it was pretty early on. I think within the first few months too of Summer going missing, and I'd already sort of had my thoughts and feelings about maybe what was going on, but I sort of described that in my experiences when the worm started to turn for me in a major way, because listening to Mary on there comforting Candace, and then it just turning out to, and people, it went so far as to people were tracking federal prison plane flights that he was being sent to Boston, and they found out there was a Don Wells, but it was a completely different Don Wells. I think it was an old report, but it was elaborate, and Don was watching the whole time laughing. Don thinks those kinds of things are funny. He likes to play pranks on people. He feels like that is a way that he can kind of get back at people. But I remember it vividly. I talked about it. I told Don, shame on you, because that's just, and then he kind of go, well, sometimes you got to have a little fun. That was, you say, fun. How is that fun? What was so fun about that?
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty heartbreaking, because the compassion, Mary, that you showed for them then and even after, I would have just, and I know why you did. I know why you didn't. I know why you do, because it was about finding Summer.
Yeah.
But incredibly cruel and sick.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted Josh on tonight. If you haven't subbed to his channel, it's called The Lab. He's got a whole playlist of the Summer Wells story as well. And he's got the receipts.
I tell you that I've had a contentious relationship with Don for years now. He's threatened to kill me. He's threatened to show up at my house. He didn't like, which, by the way, I completely understand why he doesn't like me. And it's because every time he lies, I would tell him about it. And to this day, I continue. I always monitor what's going on with them. I'm constantly, listening, and like I said, none of us have gone anywhere. It's just a little quieter. That's all.
Yeah, and the reason I froze this picture here for the audience, going back to the stranger abduction story, notice there are two keyed lock mechanisms here. Both of these locks would have to be unlocked, not just one. So either he's the luckiest person on the earth, somehow knowing that the universe, a 5-year-old was going to be into that through that door, and that both of these locks would be open. Yet when the mother takes me down into the basement after her daughter's been abducted, allegedly, which I don't believe, she unlocks these doors to get out. So it gets better.
Wells allegedly argued with the person and pushed Bly down, injuring her leg.
And notice you can barely see the TV through there again, of the material once again playing. You see the reflection?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Left knee. Wells was arrested and charged with domestic assault, possession of a handgun while under the influence, and unlawful possession of a weapon. Bly filed an order of protection against Wells the following day, writing, quote, "I am afraid of being hurt. He is abusive physically and mentally toward me. I am afraid for my children and myself." 4 days later, on the date of the hearing, Bly asked for those charges to be dismissed. On April 21st of 2021, Wells pled guilty to possession of a handgun while under the influence and turned the weapon over to the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. Those domestic assault charges and unlawful possession of a handgun were dismissed. At a press conference yesterday, law enforcement stressed that the family is cooperating with the investigation and that while an abduction has not been ruled out, there is no evidence to support it.
They're being cooperative. Of course, they're upset. So we continue to keep them updated and do whatever possible we can to find Summer.
7 days into the search, there is still no sign of the missing 5-year-old. We do have that full order of protection posted on WJHL.com. Live in the Beach Creek community, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Ansley, thank you very much. Now, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation did not schedule a news briefing today, but they released this video about an hour ago detailing their search efforts and showing the public what's happening. This is video, they say, of agents conducting a grid search in a field not far from Ben Hill Road. They say it's one of many methods being used to search for Summer tonight. And here one more time is a look at her photo. You can make a tip to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation by calling 1-800-TBI-FIND, or you can send an email to tipstotbi@tn.gov.
A lot. I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers.
She forgot to mention the nap.
How convenient. I mean, that would be that's a huge part of. So Grandis is claiming that after Summer went missing, she took a nap.
No, Grandis is claiming before Summer went missing, she took.
Okay, so she's asleep and had no idea that Summer went missing until she woke up. Nobody woke her up.
No. She's asleep. And when they get back from, picking up the dope and, fixing the knee, before the flower plants or any of that is in play, okay?
Yeah.
Then what they do is Candace picks the story up after Grandma wakes up.
Yeah.
In this interview. In our interview, she and I, it's incorporated into the narrative that they get home, they park, they unpack, it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes. She fixes Grandma's, knee brace. Grandma at no time ever takes a nap, but she forgot to tell Grandma that part of the story. Remember, you didn't take a nap. So she picks it up here, and she's high as a kite. Look at her pupils.
Yeah, they're pinned.
Yeah, so that's some type of opioid of some sort, or some type of.
Okay, so they get back from the swimming hole, and that's when Grandis takes her nap?
Correct.
Got it. And by the way, there are people saying that Don could have been, that he could. I don't know if his job verified him being there or not. We have no idea about that, but I can tell you this, that Don could have very well been there in the afternoon when Summer went missing and still went back to work later that evening and then came back. It was about a 45-minute to an hour drive. He did it quite often. He came home for lunch a lot. So two things can be true. Don could have been at work when they called in that Summer went missing, but we're also not convinced that Summer went missing at 6:30 when they called, because there are reports from the neighbor that even happened around 3:30, I believe, 3:30, 3:36.
Right.
Which is obviously a 3-hour difference. And some people believe that she even went missing earlier than that, possibly around 2:30. So Chris did a show. There was at least a 4-hour gap there. And so Don very well could have been home when Summer went missing. I'm not saying he was, but he's said that on several occasions, and then he's kind of went back on it before. So he could have been home, but he also could have went back to work at the same time to give himself an alibi.
Yeah. And Mary reports after talking to Donnie that he tells you he was home.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe Josh has the recording. It was the very last one, Josh, that I think you put out there. Yeah.
I heard it. Yes. I never put it out, but I'll dig through it and I'll put it up. I have no problem with that. Also, he told another YouTuber that he was home as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see Donnie being in the basement, calling Candace, wanting to know where she is. I can see him higher than a kite. I can see it all going down. I don't know why. I just think that's what happened.
Chris, do we have time to talk about the couch?
We can, sure. Tell
Well,
everybody
it
about
doesn't
the
have to be long, but we'll finish this and then we can go really quick because I think that for some reason that's just something that has always stuck with me.
Right, the blue couch.
Yep.
And I said, okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes, and even the.
In the 911 call, the dispatcher says mother reports going for a walk, just a casual stroll. So that's another discrepancy that I used to burn on with Dawn. I would say, Dawn, why does the dispatch say mother reported going for a walk for 10 minutes? Then Candace says, I never go on walks. Dawn says that's a misunderstanding. I say it's a lie.
Yes, and I even have a recording of me and Donnie and Candace. I think Donnie had it on speaker when I was talking to him, but I was asking him about the bears and stuff like that around. And they're like, oh yeah, Candace, she spoke up and she's like, well, they don't hardly ever even come around here. I'm not scared of bears and stuff. So that right there is a lie.
Yes.
Well,
Don says that it was he told me that once it was a misunderstanding. There's and Chris, you remember this. When he called into my show, I mean, he was threat level midnight, DEFCON 5, pissed off. I mean, he was going through the roof, and he was, threatening and he was going after you, and him and I went at it for probably about 25, 30 minutes. And then when you called, I confronted him about that again on the air. And I kept trying to come back. Can I ask you about Summer? Can I ask you about Summer? And he kept going, no. And then I would try and squeeze in and one of the questions was, why did the dispatch say that she was going for a walk? And he said, that was just a misunderstanding. And I go, how is that a misunderstanding? I don't understand. Like, that makes no sense. I've always found that was just, a lie from the very beginning. One of the things that they deviated from the story, that got deviated from the story. By the way, we also don't know who it was that initially called. Dawn did call, but I've heard that Candace was not the one that made the phone call, that it may have been one of the children, because they have never released the initial phone call or Donnie's phone call. And so I believe, from what I've heard, that Candace never called the police and that somebody else was the one that initiated it. After that, that's when Dawn calls, and Dawn is actually not at home at that time. He is, I believe, in Jonesboro, which is about 45 to an hour away. And he absolutely does call, but before, because somebody called him, but he makes sure to pack up all his tools before he leaves because they're very expensive and he doesn't want them to get lost.
Yeah, it gets better. And by the way, she's high as a kite here.
Yeah.
Big time.
Coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves.
Yeah, don't bring our daughter back. Just come forward and explain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head
and make
herself.
it, I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad, and but it didn't bother her at this point. Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house, in the eastern United States. Or
Now, hypothetical. It's interesting that he makes that kind of comment about searching different types of neighbors' houses, etc. What if it turns out that her body was dumped in one of the other neighbors' houses on a farm, and that's the most recent tip that they went over to dig up or try to find her body, and he was the actual one that dropped it off? That's one way of throwing your neighbor under the bus, where you can actually say, "Oh yeah, the very first day I actually said that,"
which he does.
Yes,
his neighbors.
That's his MO. That's his MO. It's pretty elusive. You heard him say it. Okay, and this is what these guys do and how they do it. And Mary, I like the way you're thinking, and it's very interesting how you've come to that conclusion.
But I wish there was a way. Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that, out of love, and trying to get information and trying to get her found. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
But he has done nothing. Absolutely zero. These two have done nothing.
Also, this is 13 days after Summer went missing.
Correct.
So this is their first public appearance. This is Candace's first public plea to the public, 13 days. And she had to be talked into this. She didn't want to do this at all. She never wanted to do this.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. Yeah, there's always going to be.
He just wants her back, but he's shaking his head no.
Haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world, and we just want to focus on the the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. And that's
Boy, he's got this script right down, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That it goes from, I want to thank all the first responders and everybody, I feel sorry they're limping, to I want to thank, God and, and all the neighbors that are praying for us. And, she's a good young lady. I'd like to have her back again. And meanwhile, this guy was holding a secret that he had molested his stepsister starting at the age of 5 and attacked and tried to rape this young lady right below me right now. And this guy's holding that secret in his head while saying this to the world. That's an amazing.
Yeah. And, Chris, I don't know if you know this or not, but Candace didn't even know about us.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, you also didn't know about Summer until she went missing.
Right. Yep.
That was intentional, by the way.
Yep.
That's intentional. And by the way, I cried more when my goldfish from the fair died. I had more emotion than what either of them are showing in this 13 days.
kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors. I mean, because we just try to be around good people. I mean, and we...
Except for all the drug dealers, tweakers, heroin addicts, meth heads, living right across the street, up the street, down the street, coming up and down my driveway every day. We hang around with great church people.
Yeah.
do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened.
He's been there forever.
Yeah. We found out since this has happened, he's just discovered good people in the area. Yeah, we got a couple of meth labs at the end of the block. We got, whatever. Right out of Central Casting. Go ahead.
If and you would ask him about his neighbors, and he was disparaging towards all of them. All of them were disparaging back towards him. But you'd ask him about the Fred Hills of the world, and he would go, "Oh, you mean meth head Fred?" and things like these are the people that are closest to him in the holler there. All of them sort of knew each other, but never really had many nice things to say. So I still to this day don't know about the nice people he's talking about. They have fallen out with everybody in their life. Everybody, every neighbor, every friend.
Got some real good neighbors.
Imagine that.
Good folks everywhere. But
well, yeah, I mean, people are it's amazing.
The most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but
Now they cut that. They edited this.
we love our children with everything we have.
Enough to beat them into submission. And to have the state of Tennessee take them away forever.
Never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around.
Now that's an interesting statement, because that gives validity to what you're saying, Mary, that maybe she's downstairs with Donnie.
Yeah.
And it also lines up maybe with the 911 call that he's trying to hurt my daughter.
Yeah.
And she says, nobody would ever hurt her as long as I'm around.
Right.
Let's see how Don responds to that.
ever.
Ever.
She loves to.
Oh, they
She
cut
loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired, you know. But and you know, I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was "God."
And didn't she sleep with him every single night?
Yes.
Every single night.
She slept in between Dawn and Candace.
Godzilla, and they say, you know, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, you know, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I
And
played
not
on the
to
TV.
be graphic, but Dawn had also admitted to sleeping nude, which I find highly inappropriate.
She loved to dance.
She liked to think of herself as a princess, and you know, and all that, like all young girls do. And
She loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa and
I think she really loved to be in church because she felt a lot of love there, and I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, you know, when you're young, and she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church.
She didn't feel it at home, but she felt it at church. Well, I can't imagine why she wouldn't have felt it at home. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. Let's see here. I don't know about you, but this is creepy as all heck.
Yeah, yep. You know, that picture there with Donnie and Candace and Summer, when that first surfaced, I didn't even recognize him. I didn't even know that was Donnie.
Is that because of drugs, you think?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He must have been really, really high on drugs for days at that point. Because I mean, I didn't even recognize him.
I mean, he looks
she
absolutely
loves.
blitzed.
Say it again.
He looks absolutely blitzed in those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and when you have parents like this, what do you need? That little girl didn't have a chance.
No, she didn't.
She didn't have a chance. And when you tried to raise the red flag, they dismissed you.
And I think
Church should rephrase that.
Say it again.
I think that the reason that the boys survived this ordeal living with them was because they were a bit older and that they were in school with sort of some sort of structure in their life. Not a lot, but you know, they were being, you know, somewhat looked after, at least when they were at school.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they're in a better place today.
Yes, they are.
Thanks to the state of Tennessee taking them out and the court saying no more.
Yes.
Because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, you know, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
Our best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were.
She come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that was professional, that
was pretty,
yeah,
beautiful.
she looked up to those kind of women. She, you know, they were the word I'm looking for, I can't think of it, but she looked up to them. She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money, and there was times, you know.
Don't you get the sense that she's never coming back? Listening to this now, 5 years later.
Yeah.
How many days is this, Josh? After hang on for a minute. You're muted.
13 days.
13 days. Your daughter's missing. But everybody, don't you guys all get the sense that she's already gone?
Yes. And also, did you, for some reason, I felt like that was sort of a dig. I don't know. I don't think it means anything, but you know, when he said she looked up to women, but she was a tomboy, but she looked up to women who dressed nice and did their hair nice and things like that. But she wanted her hair shaved as well. So, you know, which is it?
Well,
Lies through everything.
she didn't want her hair shaved. I know pretty much 99% for a fact that they shaved her head because she had lice. Because Donnie and Pam, his first wife, that's what they did with their two kids. They were constantly getting lice, and their house had roaches and silverfish and, you know, all that good stuff. And yeah, they were constantly getting lice. So Pam and Donnie shaved their heads. And when I seen that with Summer, and they actually shaved the boy's head once or twice too. And so yeah, I believe that's why they shaved her head. I don't think she wanted her head shaved. I think they just did it to get rid of the lice.
And Pat was a tweaker too, wasn't she?
Pam, yeah.
Pam.
Yep. Yeah.
Big time.
We'd be, you know, at our boys like, don't do this and don't do that. And next thing you know, the stick would come up and just whop them, you know, and it'd be like, Summer, don't do that. You
Summer
know?
was the boss of the family.
Yeah,
She
typical girl.
When they get out of line, she'd put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go, she would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. You know, she loved to run.
A funeral.
Say it again.
This sounds like something you would say at a funeral.
Right. Yeah, and I pointed this out yesterday that the dog trail is a bunch of garbage.
Complete garbage.
She just loved to run.
It was all about
She
the
could pull
motorcycles
herself
for little
up
kids.
on that swing, her full body weight with her two hands, and she could do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she at school yet?
No, she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year of
She's been.
kindergarten.
We did all the what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already took on all of her shots and registered in the school ready for this year.
And I think that was part of the kickoff of why CPS was sniffing around, because there were some medical requirements. You just wonder what a doctor would have found.
I just never.
See, she looks down and to the right and looks away. That's a very uncomfortable position that she's in right now.
Expected.
Body language wise. And he's going to take over the conversation here.
For anyone to get a hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands, and I love her with all my heart.
I wonder if she aged out.
It's possible.
I'd do anything to have her back. If there's any way, if you can find it in your heart to please release her.
He knows he's not talking to anybody. Watch how he keeps looking up and around to back over. His head keeps moving in a negative direction. Watch.
Somehow, I don't know how you might do that.
See how he keeps looking over, shaking his head no. Somehow, I don't know how you're going to, because he knows he can't do that. All of that is an indication of deception, every piece of it.
Scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything.
He's worried about prison. He's thinking about prison. And he brings it up in this conversation, but he's putting it into the third person that he's actually talking to the suspect when he's actually talking to himself.
Anything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and
Remember when I asked him on that phone call, what do you think should happen to the person that did this?
I was actually just gonna bring that up.
And what
I'll
did he
never
say? Do you
forget it.
remember, Josh?
I'll never forget it. He said, well, I wouldn't wish jail or prison on anybody. But it was just like, what? Because the normal answer is that they should get the electric chair or, throw them off a bridge but he said, well, I don't think, I don't wish prison on anybody.
Yeah, right. A good response would have been that the authorities better catch him before I do.
No question about it. And mean that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can guarantee that most people would feel that way.
Way of letting her go and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her and, and us and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home.
He's looking over at Candace, and Candace's eyes are closed through this whole conversation because he knows if she in any way, shape, or form breaks ranks here, that is a very intimidating con. And I'm just going to say it, evil way. This is how he looks at his victims and says, if you say anything, I will blankety blank your family, you'll get in trouble, I'll get in trouble. But look at him. His lips are tight. His eyes are piercing her. She knows it's happening because she doesn't want to look at him. And he is controlling her verbally in this interview.
Yeah.
Power, dominance, and control. And imagine what a 5-year-old was up against.
And most parents of missing children that they believe were abducted would be scaling the walls of the news station to get this kind of coverage, to plead for their child and to get the information out there. None of that is happening here. Every now and then you'll hear a thing, well, if you know anything, maybe you should, clear it up. It's very elusive. And most parents go on the news the same night or the next day and are clamoring for it. And not everybody gets that, not everybody gets that attention, unfortunately.
Look at her looking over at him like, can I look at you now? That's like a puppy. Look at that look.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is,
and they pulled off,
her being tormented or lost.
My biggest fear is her being tormented. Who thinks of this?
Somebody that maybe possibly has done it or does it or thinks about it.
That torment.
Locked in a dungeon or basement.
Stuck in a dungeon or a basement, i.e., like in his house.
Yep.
Tormented in a dungeon or a basement.
Or something, because she loved to be outside all the time.
She loved to be outside all the time. Past tense.
Yep.
Tormented in a dungeon or a basement.
That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. Because a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone?
Now he's transferring responsibility to the boys.
Go get Summer now, and that's how.
Well, why didn't you go get her?
Yeah.
Over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person.
She'd love to be outside.
Yeah,
And that's their responsibility.
Right.
You know, the boys, I get it. You know, look out for your sister, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, the responsibility falls on the parents. And Don certainly tried to transfer a lot of that responsibility. A few times I'd heard him say that, and even to me, he said, "Well, they're too interested in their video games, or they're to pay attention to their sister." But you know, and then you just hear it again today, the sheriff going, "Well, I think they could have done a better job." I mean, to just boil it down to that and go, well, I think they could have, it is sickening, to be honest with you. And it's not something that was fitting to say on our 5th year anniversary of going missing. I don't like the word anniversary because that typically signals something happy, but it's the right word. But for him to just come out and say that is like, what the hell have you guys been doing?
I'm afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything. And
he's afraid she walked away, but he's got her in a dungeon being tortured.
I'm afraid that she won't be able to, I'm locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything.
I'm afraid she can't be outside, play with a puppy or anything. Is that a lure to get her into the dungeon?
Nature, and that's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore, or that she could possibly, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility.
13 days later. I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility.
I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus on the positive. Because
What's that?
Well, he just laid out all the negativity.
What's positive in this?
Yeah.
I mean, your daughter goes missing. She's been gone for 13 days, no sign of her.
Yeah.
What's the positives?
Yeah, and Mary, what's your read on watching him?
He's lying. That's my opinion. Like you said, I've known him pretty much all my life, and he's lying,
It's so easy to get, lost in that negativity and stuff, and it's just not worth it. So I appreciate y'all, the good things you say, and your prayers. That's awesome.
When my sister went missing, I was in between Arkansas and Tennessee. I don't know all.
She was working in the carnival at the time, wasn't she?
Yeah, I believe so. And that's where her and Dawn, strange as it is and as ridiculous as it sounds, they met while she was working as a carny.
Go figure.
Unbelievable.
She barking for the yak lady?
Happen or what did happen, but I hope that they find her too and bring her home safely too.
And you see her look to Dawn, that quick glance over to the left. Yeah. I hope they find her too. Quick glance over to the left and bring her home safety too.
Yeah, there's no.
I mean, what are the odds that 2 family members just disappear like this?
Yeah.
And we think Nancy Guthrie's case is strange.
This is strange.
Yeah.
This little girl should be all over the news 10,000 times, not a minute and 30-second piece.
Yeah.
Again.
There's nothing. She disappeared without a trace. They haven't found anything, haven't found a body, nothing. And
he knows everything about this.
When you see cases like that, that's why I lose hope on Summer. I want to keep hope, but sometimes.
Or you can use it as a model.
Sometimes I lose hope.
Lose it.
And I think, well, maybe we won't never see her again, so I start thinking in past tense. Sorry. But I'm trying to keep hope up. I'm trying to keep my prayers up and all that.
trying to keep my hope and my prayers up and all that.
Yeah.
In February, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson told News Channel 11 that the Wells family had lawyers and were no longer cooperating. The lead investigator for the case explained how that, as well as how her father's current stint in jail on unrelated charges, hasn't moved this case forward.
The family has attorneys involved, and that is not a direct line of communication.
That tone is quite...
That's the flower garden.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That looks like a metal wind spinner that you just stick into the rocks. I don't see 3 cactus plants that need to be planted rapidly into that one. Now looks like a piece of cactus behind it.
It's very important too that they get these done.
And this is the flowers garden that the media pitches that she was planting flowers with her grandmother. And did I tell you her grandmother's brother is the largest SA offender in the state of Wisconsin? I forgot that piece. Mainline media, mainstream media. You know. Oh, and by the way, did I tell you that Donnie's son is a RSO and the whole family is the Shady Bunch? You know.
Quite the change from what it was last year when Summer was first reported missing.
It was pretty good. We would show up about every day, make sure that they were okay, and
I mean, they don't look like there's anything going on. Nothing to see here. Move along.
It's unbelievable, man.
Nothing to see here. Move along, please.
had a decent line of communication with them.
About a month later, in July, Child Protective Services removed her 3 older brothers from their home and appointed attorneys to the case.
They have been appointed for other instances, but it bleeds over into this investigation as well.
Summerwell's father, Don, was arrested late last year for driving under the influence and violating probation.
Going off of that, obviously we know that Don Wells is incarcerated here. Does that play a role at all in this investigation?
No, ma'am.
On February 7th, a judge ordered him to serve the remainder of his 11 months and 29-day sentence in the Hawkins County Jail.
With Mr. Wells, he knows when he first came into the institution, he knows at any time he wants to talk to let their staff know, and I will get to him as quick as I can.
But Pruitt hopes the Wells family knows, despite the other legal troubles, they can reach out anytime.
Communication between me and the family have changed.
That's the interview there on June 18th, where he tells the public, I'll see her in the resurrection.
Yeah.
Remember that, Mary?
Yep.
3 days after she disappears, he's already got her in the resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that little boy next to him. If we watch that video again, man, he had total control over that little kid.
Yeah, it was really bad when he was down here with him. And that one day that I went to my mom's.
Tell us about that.
Well, I came over to visit, and Josie was in the front room watching TV. My mom had went and got, I think, Wendy's or something for him, like a half hour earlier. I walked in and I started talking to him because I wanted to get to know him, you know. And not more than probably, maybe 10 minutes after I was there, Donnie walked in. And he went straight into the front room, looked at Josie, and he said, "What the hell are you doing in here?" And I was just sat there. I didn't say nothing. And he says, "I came in to watch cartoons." And he goes, "I told you never, ever, ever to come in this house when I'm not here." And I looked at Donnie and I was like, he's okay. He's fine. He's not doing anything. He's not hurting anybody. He's okay in here. And Donnie just gave me this smirk look and looked at Josie and said, "Get your ass up and get out now." And he followed him out the back door and into the RV they were staying in.
Wow.
Poor Josie, I felt bad for him because you could just see the fear in his eyes.
Yeah.
But I hope that they still understand that they can come talk to me at any time they want to.
You can find all of today's coverage from our interview with Detective Pruitt, as well as more in-depth reports on the Search for Summer section of our website.
Wow. That is crazy. It's interesting that Don writes these letters from jail. I showed these yesterday, but he says he knows that she's gone. How does he know?
Well, now in them letters you have there, Chris, there was one part that I was kind of interested in. Did he put something in there that said something to the effect of, "I'm sorry, Summer, for unleashing my anger out on you"?
Let me check. Yeah. I'm sorry, my beautiful girl, that I completely lost my mind. Yeah, I put this in here. Go ahead.
See, and I think that coincides with the day she went missing. I think he was in that basement waiting for her, and I think he hurt her, he killed her. Something happened, and he grabbed her, took off, and then that's when they came up with the plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the second line there is, with so many thoughts of people hurting you, I know you want to come home.
There's nothing I can do.
What father writes this to his kidnapped daughter?
Right? It don't make any sense. And you know, Chris, I mean, I've heard many times that they have been able to prosecute people for, you know, deaths, or I don't know, without a body. There's just so much stuff on him and Candace. I don't understand why they can't.
This is almost a confession.
Yeah.
A written confession.
Yep. You know, and like I said, I mean, I've known Donnie all my life. And that was the first thing that came into my head, Chris. What I said happened.
Let's see here. I'm sorry, my beautiful girl, that I completely lost my mind. With so many thoughts of people harming you, and I know you want to come home, and there's nothing I can do. I'm powerless.
Yeah.
So I ask God, please look over my precious daughter. We love her so much. Wow. Mary,
Yeah.
I this is a personal question, and forgive me. You and I have been friends for at least 5 years now.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they attacked you, what was how did he handle his way out of that? Tell repeat, explain to the audience how he got out of that situation with his dad.
Well, after him and his friends tried raping me and tearing my darn clothes off and everything, he took off. Him and his friends took off. My mom and dad were on their way home from a run because my dad drove truck. And they were on their way home within like an hour or two. And so Donnie took off. We weren't quite sure where he was. When my mom and dad got home, I told them what had happened. My brother and my ex-husband, which was my boyfriend at the time, took me down to the police station, and we left there, and then we went over to the two guys that were helping Donnie try to rape me.
Just say SA. It's a little
Yeah,
easy for 'em.
yeah.
For you
Um,
and for the audience. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we went over to their house, and they opened up the door, and my brother and my ex-husband literally beat the crap out of both of them. And then we went back to my mom's house. We couldn't find Donnie, but my mom and dad were there by then. And we went in and we were telling my mom and dad what had happened. And then I believe my brother had found Donnie out in the shed, hiding in the shed.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. And then after that, I mean, my dad just basically took Donnie's side. Oh, he wouldn't do that. He never did that, And then my dad, after that, it was like 2 days later, my dad told my mom that I had to go in and recant my story, to the police, because he didn't want his son going to jail for what he had done. And so after that, it just all kind of got swept under the table.
And then years later, you go back down to the police department.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, they find your initial report.
Right.
And from way back in the day.
Yeah.
And they end up connecting him to not only yours, but the other two Jeannies and another one.
Yeah.
And I remember the day I almost cried with you.
Yeah.
The day the DA told us on that phone call that they couldn't prosecute him because of the statute of limitations.
Yep. Yeah.
And
that was really hard to go through, Chris.
I know, Mayor. I know.
So,
and he also would say that during this attack that he was the one that saved Mary. That was his, when I confronted him about it, and he would say the same thing to Mary, and he was like, I saved you that day. I'm the one that, saved you. And it's not, that's not Mary's account at all.
Right. No, he didn't try saving me.
I think Mary would be grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But since that time, you have empowered many women, and you have your strength. I think you should be a speaker at CrimeCon personally. I really believe that. If anybody is listening from CrimeCon, here's a guest that can talk, authenticity about, SA and a survivor, and your sister. I mean, your sister's amazing too. Mm-hmm. And so this was the snap moment when you raised your head and said, wait a minute, I have to save Summer.
Yes.
And that's how you got involved in this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I really did think that something was going to come out of this, just for Summer, because both me and Jeannie just had, and we still do have the feelings that, Donnie was doing to her as what he was doing to us. So.
Well, this channel, Karen and I love you. We just think you're a warrior. And I think you're going to make a difference we may not see it yet,
Yeah.
but at some point, this person that has done this to Summer is probably watching us tonight. It won't surprise me if your phone rings. Okay.
Yeah. I kind of have a feeling I'm going to be getting some phone calls.
And you know what? Have him call us. I'll have him up. We'll have him up on the show. We'll have him up on Josh's show next tonight.
There you go. Yeah.
Him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to let you run. Is there anything? Oh, I'm sorry, Josh.
Going up tomorrow.
Oh, okay, tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm gonna go tomorrow.
Is there anything you want to add on tonight, Mary? And thank you so much for your bravery, for your just your kindness and your trust. You've trusted us, for 5 years now to do, this, and hopefully it'll make a difference to somebody else. But it's you did this, meaning you were the one that has been brave enough to tell your side of the story on behalf of your niece, Summer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really glad and happy that, I did come forward, and, I kind of feel like I'm also an advocate for my sister too, because of what Donnie had done to her. He traumatized her very, very bad. So.
Yeah.
And you remember what you're supposed to say if he calls you, who he's supposed to call me, because I'm your spokesperson.
Yeah.
When that happened, Chris, because there was a night, I mean, when Don was threatening Mary and was saying awful, I don't want to go into detail, but he was threatening to physically hurt her and threatening to kill me as well. Or he literally threatened to kill me.
Right.
He was also threatening to abuse Mary. And, I just said, if he calls you anymore, you just say, hey, I don't want to talk to you, call Josh. And that's what he did. And that's when he threatened me. And, which is fine. I don't mind, because, he's nuts as it is. But, there are times that I absolutely do worry for your safety. And, so, and I know you got your husband there, and that he will protect you, but just stay vigilant. And,
well, don't worry about that, Mayor, as Josh is talking about. Just make sure that, your neighbor, Mr. 6 Hour, is always home.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Just talk to one of your neighbors, Bob Glock, and see what Bob says.
Yeah. Well,
She's not scared of him. We'll make that clear. She's not scared of him.
Oh, I know.
No.
Been around.
No. And my ex-husband taught me how to shoot very well. Many guns, many hunting trips. I have my sweet little 38 sitting right next to my bed, and I'm good.
Yeah. All of my neighbors are just wonderful. So, that's how we roll. All right. Tell everybody about what happened to your little cooking channel. It's down right for now, but you're trying to put it back up, right?
We're going to work on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my channel is still up and everything, but
tell everybody the name of your channel again.
It's called Mary Hartman's Dinner, Drinks, and Tasty Treats. And I've got lots and lots of videos on there. If you don't know how to cook, just all you have to do is follow my instructions. And they're very, very easy. There's so many easy recipes that you can put together in 10, 15 minutes, so.
Your meatloaf is still left the mark. And
oh my God.
It's so good.
I'm still in on the beer wings with the Tabasco.
Anything with beer, Josh is in on it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You could put chicken legs. And
yeah.
I don't drink beer, but if you marinate it in it, I like it.
Yeah. You know, my meatloaf recipe has gotten over 10,000 views.
Hello.
Right. And I
Mary
think the
made it.
wings one has gotten quite a few views too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll have the link
There has
below after this
Yeah.
broadcast tonight, so everybody can grab it.
Cool.
Yeah. So my monetization on my channel has just been shut down. So, I mean, it's still there and everything. You can still go see my videos. But I do need to start putting out more videos and get my monetization back up. So.
Yeah, it's just interrupted. It didn't get canceled.
Right.
So we've got 6,000 people here right now. If you guys can go over to Mary Hartman Tasty Drinks and Treats.
Dinner, drinks, and tasty treats.
Dinner, drink, tasty
Yeah.
treats.
You're close.
And hit it. We got to drive that link up. So
Yeah, that would be nice.
you're awesome.
Awesome.
All right, Mara, I'm going to let you bounce. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. We really appreciate
Thank you. Yep.
We'll talk in a
You
bit.
guys both have a good night.
Okay, call anytime.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. What do you think?
It's heavy. It's always heavy. Going back to it, it's a case that has haunted me for years, and I just pray one day it gets solved, and hopefully there's new eyes and rejuvenated hearts and minds on this case, because Summer deserves it, and she certainly did not deserve what has happened to her, and almost no family to speak of looking for her.
What was your takeaway tonight? What was the biggest takeaway you had tonight?
Well, I think Mary's theory about Donnie requesting her Candace and Summer to come back home. Mary knows this man intimately, unfortunately, against her against her will, and she's not saying anything like that to be salacious, or she's not saying anything like that to be hurtful. It's what she believes, and she has reason to believe it. This man has a history of SA, and for her to feel that way is telling. And the fact that when Summer went missing and they heard about it, when Jeannie, who was 5 when the abuse started with her, and when Mary heard about it, their first instinct was to call the FBI, because they just felt so inclined. And not only that, then the third victim, who we also had on the show, she was either on your show or mine. We talked to her.
We both had her.
We both had her on, and she who was essayed by Don as well, and who he denied, and then finally it dawned on him, oh crap, they know.
He admitted
it. And when she heard about it, she said she heard it over the radio while she was driving, and pulled over and had a panic attack, because it brought so many feelings back towards her. So
Thank you.
That's, that is most telling from what I got tonight. And
Yeah, I remember that, because she was driving.
She was driving, pulled over.
She was listening.
And she had never told her husband.
Right.
And then she went home and told him. Remember?
Yeah.
These people were tormented, and they had compartmentalized it and tried to move on with their lives. And it all came back to them as soon as they didn't even know that Summer was born. Dawn never told them. Dawn was in Utah, living on that property with her son, and she still was never told about Summer.
Wow.
She didn't hear about Summer until she went missing.
He hid her.
He hid her from everybody. it was almost like she didn't exist other than being there, you know? So there's a reason for that.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's consistent with obviously the isolation of the victimization here.
You know it as well as anybody. I mean, you studied it.
And, you know, he's a real keeper, this one.
Well, why do you think that he didn't want Josie going in and talking?
Yeah.
It's the same thing that he's done with Candace. He wasn't allowed in the house because he didn't want Josie to say anything about anything that was going on, whatever it was. He didn't want, he wanted no intimate knowledge, them to have any intimate knowledge of what was going on at that house. He was obviously keeping Summer a secret. And there would have been no reason for him to not be able to go in and watch TV, but other than to keep her quiet. And then the same thing had happened with with Candace, was that she was told to be quiet.
Yeah. So let's talk about the blue couch.
Okay. So the blue couch is such an interesting thing to me. And because, you know, when they talk about that somebody went into the house or that Summer went out the door, according to everybody, including Dawn, that there had been a blue couch inside of the basement, blocking the door so that it couldn't be opened, I believe, because the door opened towards the inside, not outside, correct?
Yes.
And so there was a blue couch in front of there because they were tired of the children going in and out and leaving the door open, apparently. And so I remember Jose, who lived with them for some months. And if you haven't watched the interview with Jose, Chris has it on his channel, and it's fascinating. And I believed him to be every bit of as honest as, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we confirmed it. We remember when we talked to him, and we confirmed, and unfortunately that he passed away in San Diego.
Yeah, what was deemed to be a drug overdose. He had some demons that he very much admitted to. But there was a blue couch down there that was admitted by everybody. And I remember asking Dawn, what happened to the blue couch that was in front of the door? How could Summer go missing if there was a blue couch in front of the door? Well, Dawn says that he threw that couch away just before, this is what he said to me, that he threw the couch away just before Summer went missing, just before. Candace, when asked about it, said that blue couch hadn't been down there for years. Jose was there right before Summer went missing, and that couch was there. Now, I don't think that they're the type of people that like to haul trash off very often. That's just my
thought. Seeing how there was an open refrigerator up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember?
And he was banging on it with the stick. And so I remember saying, asking him, what'd you do with that couch? And he says, well, right before Summer went missing, I threw it away. And I said, you took it to the dump? And he goes, no, I threw it down the hill somewhere. And I said, well, where? And he says, just, I don't know, down the hill. And I said, why would you throw it down the hill? You got trash all over the place. Why'd throw it down the hill? He goes, I don't know. And he goes, what's so important about that couch? And I said, well, nothing, I guess, but it was there to keep the kids from going in and out, and it would keep somebody from, somebody would have had to move the couch to get to Summer. And I just for fun, I said, Dawn, humor me, send me a picture of the couch. And he goes, okay. 6 months goes by. I said, you ever going to send me a picture of the couch? He says, he texts me back. He says, you're an asshole. That's what he says to me. He said, I know, but where's the picture of the couch?
That's 75 cents, by the way. You've had 3 quarters. in the jar since you
That's
got
what
my
he said
show.
to me. I didn't say it to him. He needs to pay it. So, okay, he says, you're an a-hole. That's what he said.
You get a mulligan. Go ahead.
He says, you're an a-hole. And I said, okay. And so then he takes a picture of another couch that's on his property. That wasn't, it was a brown couch. And he goes, are you happy? And I said, that's not the couch. And he writes back, ha, 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 like that. Then he sends me a picture of a bunch of sticks in the woods one day. And I said, why are you just playing these games, you know? And so I remember him just really, there was a couch down there and apparently they were doing some renovations right before Summer went missing. Got rid of that couch that was blocking the door from kids going in and out and from people being able to get down there. Now, I also know and have it on good authority that Don was able to back his pickup up right to the door, and that Don was the only one that had a key to that basement door. He's the only one.
That doesn't surprise me. There's 2 locks on that door, man.
He's the from what I understand, he's the only one that had the keys to it, and that on several occasions there were people that had seen him pull that truck down right up to the door. And you were there. Did it look possible to you that it could happen?
Oh, easily.
Okay. Because there's a little path and you could just pull right in there. So I don't know, man. The couch is gone, never to be seen from again. He said he took it to the dump, and I said, oh, well then, maybe that could be verified, because if you paid for it. He goes, oh no, wait, I didn't take it to the dump. I threw it down the hill. Okay, but then he sends a picture of a couch that's on his property that wasn't down a hill. But it wasn't even the same color couch, and it wasn't a fold out couch. This was a very heavy couch we're talking about here. It was a fold out. So
so it had a mattress in it.
Had a mattress in it. Sure did. And it was there to block the door. So, it's once again, Candace said it hadn't been down there for years. Dawn said it went missing. Didn't go missing, excuse me. He threw it away right before Summer went missing. He said that's shortly before. Because like I said, apparently they were renovating.
Yeah. The whole place looked like it was being remodeled, right?
Yeah, exactly. So where's the couch?
What did you think about Grandma slipping that she was actually sleeping?
Yeah, well, like I said, all of their stories are just they're just fabrications and half truths and full lies, but nobody's. One of my major problems with Grandma is that there's I think she has this loyalty to Candace because that's her daughter, but she has it seems to have no loyalty towards her granddaughter.
Yeah, that's I think they should squeeze her. I think the FBI should grab her and say, hey, time to talk. It's never too late. Trust me. It's never too late. I mean, just think of what did I say even in the Nancy Guthrie case about this guy in Hawthorne? I said, and everybody can go back and watch one of the first videos I did. It's been almost 5 months now, just under it. 4 months, excuse me. I said, this guy in Hawthorne's an anomaly who decides to text the message, got the Bitcoin, yada, yada. Okay. Well, guess what he just took today or is planning on doing?
Isn't he changing his plea?
Uh-huh. And I called that.
Kalalalala.
Kalalalala.
That's what I heard.
Remember I said, don't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was going from guilty to now he's pleading not guilty?
Mm-hmm. No, he's pleading. He's taking a deal.
Taking a deal, excuse me. So he pled not guilty at first, and now he's going to take a deal.
He's going to take a deal.
That's going to be interesting.
So now let's think about
the 2nd of July is when that happens, right?
Yeah, but But remember, everybody in our chat and our family here, you guys heard it here first. So when everybody comes out going, hey, I took a deal, I'm reporting it. Okay, no. Please bring the receipts. Okay, but the reason I'm saying that is because I was asked today by somebody, well, what do you think the next piece of the puzzle is? I said, well, I won't be surprised if this guy is in any way, shape, or form connected to the daughter and the son-in-law, which apparently he is because he sent him text messages.
He knows them somehow, some way, got their information at least.
Well, according to him, he got it off the internet and it just happened to be in the ether.
Well, he also pleaded not guilty at first too.
Right. At the same time, they needed something.
Yeah.
I said, or I thought, and I've said from the beginning, I felt that the FBI swooped this guy so fast and, put him in the container and then told the world, yeah, don't you ever try to do this to anybody because this will happen to you. And guess what happened? There was a huge fire, basically, and what they did is they threw the blanket on it, and now you got white smoke, and everybody goes, oh, the fire's out, and we'll focus over here on all this other stuff. Okay, and there were makeup theories and all this other stuff. Okay. And lo and behold, behind the scenes, because I've been there, done that, you're sitting there going, all right, so we've just lowered your profile. So how are you going to raise ours? Here's
a little quid pro quo, right?
Here's what we're going to do. Okay. We're going to take you from California. Remember, I thought it was really weird that they packed him up and shipped him over to Tucson from California. The guy's arrested in Hawthorne.
Yeah.
So the U.S. Attorney's Office has authority over there. So somebody made a decision to say, let's send him to Arizona. Okay. Where the victims are, allegedly. And he gets over here and now he goes, hey, I'm going to plead guilty. Okay. So what probably happened is what they call a proffer with his attorney that said, hey, we'd like to get a deal. And we'd like to know if you'd be willing to talk to us about that deal. And here's what we're kind of offering. But they won't tell you, the defense won't tell you until the investigators get in the room and they sit there and they turn the tape recorder on and they say, okay, let's go. So it could be a long shot, but it's not out of the world of possibilities.
Yeah.
And so we don't know what that means yet. But I've always felt that it's such an anomaly. And now he is taking a deal as predicted. What is going to be the outcome of that deal on that case? I don't know. And does it impact Nancy Guthrie in any way, shape, or form? Does he know something that nobody's talking about? Because there's that one line in that affidavit. And that line is, and he made a 9-second phone call to a family member. And the FBI was slick enough to not tell us who that family member was or is. So if it's a phone call to the daughter of Nancy Guthrie, Annie, that's interesting. That will be interesting.
Very.
If it's a phone call to the son-in-law, that will be really interesting because he's texted both of them. Or is it a phone call to a third family member that we're not aware of yet? And at some point it will be in that affidavit when the guy pleads guilty. And are they getting to a place where if he's pleading guilty now, how close will it be to where those records become available to the public? So the next move for the U.S. Attorney's Office is going to be seal all the documents if the investigation is still ongoing. For me, if I see the word affidavit sealed, I'm in the vein, as they used to say for heroin addicts, right? You know,
Yeah.
man, I got to
Well,
tap.
if it wasn't connected at all, they would have no reason to seal it.
Open it up.
Open it up.
Release it to the public.
It'll be interesting.
Show the whole thing, how you got the probable cause to get there.
It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going to happen. I knew the Mexican thing, meaning all the graves and all that stuff, that's going to be a nothing burger.
Nothing burger, big
You
time.
know, the Cold Case Foundation was asked actually to go to Juarez years ago to help them solve hundreds of homicides that they have down there. There are that is just a killing field down there.
Yeah,
on
I've heard
the
of
side of the border. Go ahead.
I've heard of it. It's just a grave, like an unofficial graveyard, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a rough place down there, and it's all driven by the cartels. You know, the Sinaloa cartels.
It's a scary place. It's a very scary place down there.
Yeah, so let's see what happens on that one, and everybody's got Karen and I've got something up our sleeve. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet because you know me. But put your seatbelts on. Sunday night's going to be a great show.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. All right, bro.
Appreciate you having me, Chris. Thank you.
Always, Brim.
All right.
Go sub up at the lab. We're back. We're back.
We're back.
We're back. See you, bud.
See you.
Bye. All right, everybody. We are so grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight and sharing your thoughts and feelings about Summer and showing the love for Mary. We're so grateful for her, and we pray continually that the Lord will open these doors and the windows necessary to not only find Nancy Guthrie, but to find Summer Wells. Summer Moon Wells, we've not forgotten you. Hang in there. Aloha, everybody. See you on the next one. We got some great stuff coming. Have a good night.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.